It's been a few weeks since we've talked with Darrell, and Darrell, what is going on with the cattle markets right now?
Well, you know, it's getting a little bit dry out in western Oklahoma. We're watching that in terms of some potential drought impacts. I don't think it's a major issue yet from a forage standpoint, but it is certainly something we want to keep an eye on. We're seeing an area of drought expand, or dry conditions at this point, expand in the southern plains, in the Oklahoma-Texas Panhandle, southwest Kansas. There's also another area up in eastern Wyoming, up into North Dakota that's pretty dry. So we're keeping an eye on that, but all in all, we're off to a pretty good spring start.
So often we talk about Oklahoma cattle, but you talked about dry spots in Wyoming. How could that affect Oklahoma and the overall cattle markets?
Well, you know, in terms of what's going to happen with cattle markets from a herd rebuilding standpoint or whatever, it really is a national picture. So now obviously we're still down the most in numbers in the southern plains, particularly down into Texas. That's an area that we expect to actually see more drought or more herd rebuilding happen as we go forward, because it was one of the areas that lost the most cattle. But we really have to watch you know, dry conditions all around the country. Certainly we've had times in history when regional droughts have been severe enough to sort of derail what the kind of national tendencies are, so we have to watch it all.
Changing directions a little bit, let's talk about exports of beef out of the U.S.
Well, you know, the trade picture has played a pretty important role the last couple of years. We've had 2 strong years of beef imports. We've had weak beef exports this last year. And, you know, high prices in the U.S. attracted more than expected numbers of cattle, particularly out of Mexico last year. What we see is that picture is changing a little bit now. We still have a strong dollar, which is having all of those sort of adverse impacts. It makes exports more expensive. It makes imports more attractive. It makes imported cattle more attractive. So that's still going on, and we have to watch that. But we're seeing exports stabilizing. In fact, they may actually be up a little bit this year, certainly not down like last year. On the import side, we're expecting significantly less beef imports. You know, Australia just can't keep doing what they've been doing the last couple of years, but overall market conditions in the global marketplace would say we're probably not going to import as much beef this year. And on the cattle imports, again, Canada's and Mexico's numbers are down. We got less cattle from Canada last year. That'll continue this year. We think they'll start herd rebuilding. Mexico's numbers, I think, will be down, even though they were up a little bit last year. Again, I don't think they have the cattle to keep doing what they've been doing, and very probably we're going to see some herd rebuilding start there. So the trade picture in many ways is going to kind of offset the fact that in the U.S. or in the domestic market, we're starting to increase production and increase cattle numbers, and the trade effects are going to moderate that somewhat in 2016.
And it's starting to get warmer. People are going outside, they're grilling. What does that hold for the beef price?
Well, you know, we kind of got off to a little bit of an early start. Kind of had an early spring in a lot of ways. There was an early kind of grilling demand. It's moderated a little bit. It was almost like it was a first start, and then we've pulled back a little bit. But all in all, I think you know, we are off to a pretty good start, and we'll see. We've had some winter weather again here recently in the Northeast. That may be having some short-term effects. But with an early Easter this year and everything else, it looks like we're off to a pretty good start this year from a grilling demand standpoint.
Okay, thank you much. Derrell Peel, Livestock Marketing Specialist here at Oklahoma State University.